with this, what we see is this, that there are some indicators of criminalization that every educator, every parent, every person who cares about Black minds will watch out for and look out for. Those four patterns essentially break down into these different elements, these indicators. So what are the indicators of Black criminalization? What are those indicators? First, assume that your child is a troublemaker. And this is written in context for parents, but it has direct applicability to teachers to look at these patterns as well. So the first one is assuming that my child is a troublemaker. The second one is referring to my child with criminalized terms, talking about them as being bad or aggressive or hyper or misbehaving or physical or defiant or any type of label. And what we know is this, is that once a child is labeled, that label continues with them throughout the rest of their educational experience. You peg a child as bad in kindergarten for doing things that a normal young kid would do, and then that kid is viewed as the bad kid, not just in kindergarten, but first grade, second grade, third grade, because those messages carry on. Spending time watching my child for wrongdoing. So monitoring them, hyper-surveilling them, and then singling them out. Single my child out for punishment, even when they do the same thing as other children. But also giving harsher punishments, giving my child harsher punishments, such as restrictions of recess, suspensions, expulsions, referrals, but harsher punishments. So something that one child does may get a referral. When it's a Black child, they get a suspension. So you can see that there's a differential treatment. Immediately disciplining my child for perceived wrongdoing. So being very quick to discipline rather than trying to understand the situation and what occurred. When other children, the response is to assume that, hey, they're young, they're learning, let's find out what happened. But that is not the same thing that is rendered to our Black children. Disciplining them, immediately disciplining my child for perceived wrongdoing, presuming that my child is the cause of a problem when they tell their teacher that the other children have treated them poorly. This is a really big one, this one of presumption. It's what we call reverse causality. It's when a Black child goes to their teacher and says, hey, this is happening to me. And the teacher's response isn't to say, what is going on, investigating, how can they support the child? Instead, the teacher's response is to say, well, what did you do to cause this to occur? So again, presuming that my child is the cause of a problem when they tell their teacher that other children have treated them poorly. Mistakenly identifying my child as the one who did wrong when they did not, because again, this assumption, going back up to the very beginning, is that they're troublemakers. And then lastly, suggesting that my child has a behavioral disorder. So these are all, again, works and that I've done with my colleague, Dr. Idara Essien, and we would encourage you to check some of them out. One of her readings is in the public course syllabus, and I'll continue to send others out as it relates to this topic.